circuit. Ducati are guaranteed to take the Riders' title again in 2023, but will Bagnaia, Martin or Bezzecchi be the star of the show? A Buriram blockbuster is up next. It's time to race in MotoGP. So the Chang International Circuit first opened back in 2014. MotoGP's first visit here 4 years later in 2018. Marc Marquez crowned world champion for the 8th time here 4 years ago in 2019. 4.55 kilometres in length, 2.8 miles. Hard braking zones into turn 1 and into turn 3, and also the last corner into turn 12. Overtaking hot spots aplenty, and this was that classic battle when Marc Marquez won the 2019 World Championship, fighting with Fabio Quartararo 4 years ago. Coming up next then in MotoGP. Unstoppable in the last 5 sprints, Jorge Martin wants another taste of Grand Prix glory from pole. Four different Ducati winners already in 2023. Can Luca Marini make it a fantastic 5 from the front row? Second on Super Saturday for a 6th sprint podium, Brad Binder could deny Ducati a maiden tie Grand Prix win. And it's tough at the top. Championship leader Pecco Bagnaia looks to rebound after the Italians sprint 7th. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Chang International Circuit. We're at the destination of speed in northeastern Thailand for the latest thrilling chapter in the title battle that's raging between Ducati stars Pecco Bagnaia, Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi. Just the 3 Ducati riders that can now win the MotoGP World Championship this season. Ducati will defend the Riders' crown, but will it be reigning world champion Bagnaia? Can Jorge Martin or Marco Bezzecchi be crowned the first ever independent team rider to win in the modern 4-stroke era? Boiling hot, baking heat as always here in Buriram. We're about 400 kilometres northeast of the bright lights and the bustling big city of Bangkok. As always, since we first came here back in 2018, our first visit 5 years ago saw the Chang International Circuit win the Grand Prix of the Year prize. And it is, as always, amazing to be back in Thailand as we get set for the main event for the Premier Class, the OR Grand Prix of Thailand, over 26 laps of this 4.55 kilometre Buriram circuit, with Pecco Bagnaia starting from the back of the second row in 6th place, seeing his World Championship lead shrink by 9 points yesterday. The gap between him and Jorge Martin, just 18 points coming into this Thai Grand Prix. That's largely thanks to more magic on Super Saturday for Prima Pramac Racing star Jorge Martin, who was high 5s at the end of that 13-lap Tissot sprint yesterday afternoon. 5 sprint victories in a row takes his season tally now up to 7 sprint successes. As Jorge Martin now, if things go his way, not beyond the realms of possibility, he could be the MotoGP World Championship leader once again before we head to the decisive season concluding triple header in Sepang, in Doha and in Valencia. Packed grandstands, the fans have been whipped up into a frenzy by some cracking Moto3 and Moto2 action earlier. And now they wait with bated breath here in Buriram to find out who will take top spot here in Thailand. The pressure back on the shoulders of Pecco Bagnaia. Not happy to find himself 7th at the checker flag in that Tissot sprint. As always, the pleasure and privilege to bring you live coverage in the commentary box is myself, Matt Burt, with Lewis Studderby sitting alongside me, Simon Crafar down in pit lane. After the Tissot sprint yesterday, Lewis, we do know now that Ducati will successfully defend the Riders' title. Brad Binder now ruled out of contention, although it was a long shot to say the least for the South African star. And it's looking like more and more of a long shot for Marco Bezzecchi. Still, of course, mathematically in with a chance of the championship. Marco Bezzecchi goes from the head of the second row in fourth place, but once again bothered by that recovering right collarbone, which he suffered just before the recent Indonesian Grand Prix. What can Bezzecchi do then as he heads a second row, which includes Brad Binder and world champ Bagnaia?
Yeah, the World Championship took another twist yesterday with Jorge Martin taking a bigger bite than many of us expected out of Bagnaia's World Championship lead, cutting it from 27 to 18 points, which does just crank up the pressure once again on the reigning World Champion. Didn't get the better of those early laps in the sprint, and once he did find himself down in the bottom end of the points, he never really recovered from there. Only 7th for Bagnaia yesterday, so the balance of power has swung once again in favour of Martin, and Martin will be keen to do what he didn't do in Indonesia, which was when he had that big moment, when he had that opportunity to really pile on the agony for Bagnaia, he made that crucial error and allowed Bagnaia to sneak through to extend that championship lead back out again. You feel that Martin will be keen to learn the lessons of that day and indeed last Saturday in Australia as he looks to take a victory which has deserted him in our last two full-length feature Sunday races. There
are the Etan farm trucks, which are such a popular sight here at the Thai Grand Prix, helping ferry it around the legions of Thai fans who've made the trip up here. We're 400 kilometres northeast of Bangkok, a 35-minute hop on a flight or a 5-hour drive, whichever takes your fancy. A lot of the paddock are going to be hot-footing it out of the Chang International Circuit after this intense and dramatic triple header as we move closer to finding out who will be MotoGP World Champion in 2023. Davide Tardozzi, Ducati Lenovo team boss. Gino Borsoi, Prima Pramac Ducati team boss. And Pablo Nieto, boss and head honcho of Mini VR46. They all think that this title chase will only be decided at the end of next month, late November. November the 26th, to mark a date in your diaries. Although it could be November the 25th, of course, if the championship gets decided in the sprint. But all of the top 3 team managers, they do believe that this title chase will go all the way down to the wire.
Of course, Pecco Bagnaia had to go right the way down to the final lap of the championship in Valencia last year to take the title. This was Bagnaia trying to recover from his difficult sprint yesterday as Aleix Espargaro made a crucial mistake on the final lap. This put him involved in a battle with Marc Marquez, which ended up being decided all the way down at turn number 12. Aleix Espargaro aggressive around that final lap as he tried to keep himself ahead of the 93, but Marc Marquez, who's got pretty good memories of that final right-handed hairpin at this Chang International Circuit. He's taken 2 race victories already there and a World Championship, of course, back in 2019. That was only for 4th yesterday in the sprint, but it will no doubt give Marc Marquez plenty of pleasure at the end of what was another difficult weekend to this point.
He admitted it was a bit of a gift. There we can see his father, Julio Marquez, just embracing Ducati Corsa Sporting Director Paolo Ciabatti, who welcomes both the Marquez brothers into the 8-strong Borgo Panigale factory lineup next year. And of course, if you're joining us for the first time this weekend, well, first of all, where have you been? Because you missed 2 cracking days of track action here in Thailand. But there was confirmation yesterday from Gresini Ducati that Marc Marquez, listen to that reception he's getting. I think there's only probably some champ that's more popular in this part of the world than Marquez. He will make his Ducati debut in that Tuesday post-race test in Valencia, which myself, Lewis, Simon and Jack Appleyard all hanging around for, and we're already quite excited about that prospect of seeing Marquez throw his leg over the Ducati GP23, as it will be, of course, what lies in store for the reigning world champion. Only the fourth time this season with Jerez, Silverstone, and a couple of weeks ago Mandalika that he's not starting on the front row. Didn't really bother him in Indonesia, did it, a couple of weeks ago when he charged through from 13th to take a sensational victory after Martin's blunder when he was 3 seconds clear. But now he's missed the top 6 in the last 2 sprints as well. Not losing big points, but at this stage of the season, every point so valuable, so priceless. Listening to him yesterday, Lewis, he clearly felt like he had the podium pace in the sprint, and clearly feels like he's one of the favourites to come through from the back of that second row to fight for the win and the podium here this afternoon. So he's clearly backing himself to be a lot stronger than what he was that 7th place at the end of the sprint yesterday.
Missed the start, and from that point on it was very difficult for Bagnaia to make his way through. You could have understood Bagnaia perhaps being a little bit cautious towards the end, didn't want to throw the big move on Marco Bezzecchi just for the gain of 1 World Championship point and potentially give it all away. There's no question that as far as the sprint's concerned, Jorge Martin is a level above everyone else, including the reigning world champion at the moment. So it's going to be crucial in this upcoming 26-lap Grand Prix for Bagnaia to get the start right, which he certainly did in Indonesia after he'd learned the lessons of a difficult opening to the sprint the previous day. So if Bagnaia can get some early progress and some early positions under his belt and move himself into podium contention, he certainly would appear to have the pace to stay there and try and make his way into those podium positions. But as we saw yesterday, if he doesn't get that start and he drops places on the opening lap, he could find himself with his World Championship lead coming under serious jeopardy.
A special atmosphere as always here in Buriram. A crowd of nearly 76,000 here for this race day 17 of 2023, as now the pressure and the tension really does start to ramp up as we move to the decisive final Grand Prix of the season. Brad Binder's excellent 2nd place from 5th on the grid in that 13-lap sprint yesterday, not good enough to keep him in title contention, although as you mentioned it was certainly a slim chance for him, Brad, for president. The South African flags waving proudly in the grandstands. The South African sporting fans have already had a happy tie Grand Prix weekend after they won the Rugby World Cup. There's a Springbok shirt down the crowd. We probably should say that quite quietly with our Kiwi colleague Simon Crowfoot. And I'm delighted to say, joining us for the first time, we can hear from Simon Crowfoot, who's joined by Monster Energy Yamaha team boss Mayo Marigali.
Yes, I have Mayo with me. Before we talk, I want to wish a huge congratulations to my South African friends, sincerely. Mayo, about today, it looks like often, here again, Fabio has the pace. He mentioned how difficult it is to overtake. Can you give us your thoughts going into the long race?
Yeah, you know, it's very difficult to have a forecast, because it's really highly depending about the start. Also this morning with the rear our tire, his pace, also Franco has been very good, but behind the others we are using different lines, and then we are forced to use the same of the others line, but then our bike doesn't perform as riding along and following the line of the Yamaha. It's very tough, also because we know that we are the pace, but we cannot exploit the pace because of other circumstances. Is even more difficult to accept.
So, if Fabio gets the start, do you think it's possible, or is it just going to be too difficult?
In any case, it will be difficult, but yeah, to be honest, also starting from the 4th row is not easy. I think from the data also we gather mainly yesterday after the sprint race and also this morning, to manage the rear tire for 27 laps, it won't be easy. Apparently, until where we were able to put a lap, we didn't had many big issues. So let's see. The race is long, and maybe even if I don't like to say hope, we might see something we saw in Indonesia, where at the end of the race we were able to catch.
Well, thank you very much and best of luck.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, thanks to Maya Meregali. Fabio Quartararo goes from 10th on the grid. Frankie Morbidelli 18th. This was the start of the sprint yesterday, and as he so often does, he got the whole shot from his 4th pole position in the last 6 rounds here. And then it all looked like a bit of a formality, didn't it? As there's the sweet moment in the sprint. 5 sprint wins on the spin for Jorge Martin. Boy, he loves Super Saturdays so far in 2023. He'll be hoping, though, for some more Grand Prix glory. He's going for his 4th double of the season after the Saxon Ring, Misano and Motegi. Going for his 3rd treble. There's Luca Marini's biggest fan on planet Earth right now, Tino, who's fair play to him. He's got the full Mooney VR46 rep leathers, hasn't he? Great to see Mooney VR46 as well, handing Tino and his family a few exclusive passes to get some backstage access here in Burama's. Marini gets his hands taped up and ready for this long, taxing, mentally and physically demanding 26-lap OR Grand Prix of Thailand. It's like a boxer getting ready for a prize fight, isn't it, here in Thailand? As Marini has had an excellent weekend so far. His 6th front row start of the season in Q2 yesterday morning, backed up with his 3rd sprint podium, back-to-back sprint podiums actually, for the 26-year-old Italian.
And Luca Marini goes from the centre of the front row of the grid. Physical challenge, of course, awaiting him, of course, although he is something closer to full fitness now. In many ways, he actually said at the start of the weekend that the sprint might be more physical than the race itself because of the style of race that we're likely to expect here this afternoon. It's going to be much more of a tactical race in terms of managing your tyre through the race. You're certainly not going to be in a position at the start of this 26-lap Grand Prix to gun it from the start, because you need to make sure you've got some tyre left at the end. So that different style might just ease the physical strain on Luca Marini, although he does feel particularly through the left-handers of turns 4 and 5, that shoulder will give him some grief.
You've no idea how happy we are in the commentary box to finally say, coming into a Grand Prix weekend, the 33-year-old Frenchman Johann Zarco is a MotoGP race winner after his Phillip Island stunner 8 days ago now, down under. That's the monkey off Zarco's back. His 1st victory since Valencia 2016, 1st victory in 2,533 days. They've been one older first-time winner in the 4-stroke here. That was Troy Bayliss in that unforgettable Valencia Grand Prix in 2006, when Nicky Hayden turned the tables on Valentino Rossi to win the World Championship that season. What an emotional day that was for the late, great Kentucky star, as we focus and hone in on the World Championship leader, Pecco Bagnaia. He would love to stretch out that 18-point World Champions League. Davide Tardozzi, Ducati Lenovo team boss, looks on, and he's got to say, he looks a little bit twitchy, doesn't he? I think Paolo Ciabatti, well, he's waving to the fans, isn't he? Yeah, I thought he was maybe just trying to grab the attention of somebody in the garage to say there might be some rain coming in, but I think it's just Paolo Ciabatti's adoring public as they're waiting in the grandstands. Now then, 26 laps at this Buriram circuit with the hard acceleration and hard braking into turns 1, turns 3 and turns 12. It is tough, it is punishing on tyres. Will anybody roll the dice and go for the medium rear, or will the entire pack go for the hard option rear? Well, there's only one man in the know, and that is Michelin Motorsport manager Piero Taramasso, who joins Simon.
Yes, Piero, can you give us your thoughts ahead of this longer race, tyre-wise?
Yeah, this is a longer race in a very difficult track. So for the moment, the main choice will be hard rear. So the hard, yesterday he worked well. This morning they warm up also. The lap time was faster. Stability is better, consistency is better. So I would say 99% of the riders, they will go with the hard on the rear. Maybe 1 or 2 riders, they will gamble on the medium, but with the medium you have to manage for all the race, all the laps. And front will be mainly medium, and some rider with the hard, because he gives better support.
Piero, even with the hard option, we'll just step out of the way of Pecco leaving, even with the harder option, they still have to manage it, meaning take some care, because I heard there's some quite a bit of spin and some consumption.
Yeah, probably yes. Sometimes they need to manage for a few laps, Because if not, you know, the tire, the consumption in the central part of the rear tire is very high, so they need to manage, or at the beginning, or in the middle, or at the end of the race.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Piero Taramasso. Surely not for the second year in succession. Are we going to have a wet tie Grand Prix? Everybody, anxious faces looking skywards. We saw Fabio Quartararo pop the visor up and look skywards, did he, to see some very ominous and very threatening dark clouds that have all of a sudden closed in on this Chang International Circuit. You can see the riders already. This is a very fuel-thirsty circuit with the hard acceleration here out of turn 1, out of turn 3 and out of turn 12, with the hard braking as well. Lots of aggressive, close to full throttle. Fuel consumption also something that the riders have to factor in. That's why they are coming to the grid at the end of this sighting lap at the slowest possible speed. I'm just looking at Fabio Quartararo come through turns 5 and 6. He's barely at walking speed. I reckon I could overtake Fabio on a skateboard right now.
He's absolutely dawdling, just getting around to the line to make sure, as you say, that they're not using up too much fuel on their way around to the grid. The major dark clouds are behind our commentary box, so as we look now down the back straight, that's not where the weather is coming from. It's coming from behind us as we look. So if the rain is going to fall, it's going to arrive at the start-finish straight and potentially turn this Thai Grand Prix on its head. 2 rear tyre specifications brought here, the medium and the hard. We're expecting the majority of them, if this race starts dry, to go for the hard tyre, of course. If the rain is coming, of course, the team's going to have very sophisticated weather radars to predict what's happening. If they do think rain is coming during the race, that might swing 1 or 2 riders to go for the medium because they feel they might not need that tyre for the full duration.
It has been bone dry here in Buriram since we stepped off the plane from Australia, either on Monday or Tuesday. And there you can see off into the distance as Bagnaia at crawling speed through turn 5 as he goes into fuel-saving mode. Just a stone's throw next to this wonderful Chang International Circuit is the home, the 33,000-seater capacity home, wonderful stadium, home to Buriram United, one of the top football teams here in Thailand. Their stadium is known as the Thunder Castle. We really hope we don't get any thunderbolts and lightning. Marc Marquez yesterday then produced a stunning performance. How on earth did he muscle that Honda around to a top 4 finish in the 13-lap sprint? He feels like it'll be a little bit hard to replicate that performance here this afternoon, but to find out if he can do it and what they expect from the number 93, let's get some thoughts from HRC team manager Alberto Pujas with Simon.
Alberto, Mark on Friday night said he had the pace for between 10th and 15th, but what a ride he did yesterday. Can you give us your thoughts on whether you think the longer race will be more difficult or better for him, and also a couple of words on Joan Mir?
Well, I think here the differences we saw on the practice is not so big. They are very tight at the lap times. So, as we saw yesterday, there's more guys that can run, let's say, not so far from the top guys. But today is different, of course, it's longer, and yeah, probably it will affect us a little bit more than maybe yesterday's race. But I think here, as I told you, there's a little bit more chances. I mean, it's true that there are 2-3 guys very fast. Martin especially sure will try to escape, but we will see. And also Joan, yesterday he did a good start. If he can do the same today, I think he has a chance to stay in a group and make a good result.
Thank you and best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Alberto Puig, 2018 and 2019 Thai Grand Prix winner, wasn't he, Marc Marquez? He'll surely figure promptly in the battle in Buriram here in 12 months' time when he comes back as a Gresini Ducati rider. Jorge Martin leaves pit lane. Pecco Bagnaia, I think he had a couple of glances skywards as well. We mentioned it in Moto2 commentary that it did all of a sudden start to go very, very dark as that grey and heavy cloud cover started to envelop this Buriram circuit. And now there are so many anxious faces down that grid, particularly when you think of the title contenders. They have had to deal with this kind of scenario, though, previously this season, haven't we, when we had a full dry weekend in Motegi, the Japanese Grand Prix, before the heavens opened for MotoGP race time.
Let's take a look at the grid then for this upcoming 26-lap Grand Prix. It's Jorge Martin from Luca Marini and Aleix Espargaro, and you'll notice there Martin has not deviated this time, at this stage at least. He's gone for the hard rear tyre. Bezzecchi and Binder for head of World Championship leader Pecco Bagnaia. They start together on the second row of the grid. On the third row, it's Alex Marquez, Marc Marquez and Maverick Vinales. Alex Marquez at the moment the only rider who's gone to the grid with the medium rear tyre. Fabio Quartararo, who was quickest in warm-up this morning, 10th from Johann Zarco, last weekend's Australian Grand Prix winner, and Augusto Fernandez automatically through to Q2 on Friday. Fabio Gian Antonio, who's got the pace to be much higher than that, 13th from Ralph Fernandez and Jack Miller. Ralph Fernandez, the sole rider so far on the hard front tyre. Taka Nakagami, Pol Espargaro, who's also on the hard front, and Frankie Morbidelli starting from 18th position. He was also quick in warm this morning. Joan Mir, Miguel Oliveira and Enea Bastianini on the back row of the grid. Oliveira also has the hard front tyre. The big headline looking at the rear tyre option so far on the riders going to the grid is that Alex Marquez at the moment is the sole rider on the medium rear tyre.
So the pre-race atmosphere building. I wonder how big the smile might be on Miguel Oliveira's face right now. Of course, in the rain conditions here 1 year ago, he won, albeit then on the factory KTM. I don't think he'll be bothered about a pouring down of rain.
Coming from 20th on the
20th on the grid on the Crypto Data RNF machine, looking for a big result as well before they go to their home Grand Prix in Sepang in a couple of weeks' time. So banging the drum at the front of the grid. Who is going to be banging the drum at the end of this 26-lap OR Grand Prix of Thailand? Brad Binder, second in the sprint, his 6th sprint podium of the season, although you've got to go back to the Red Bull Ring in Austria for his last Sunday podium in MotoGP. Plenty of South African fans have made the long trip here to Burab. Now then, this is a huge weekend, particularly with the pressure of the championship to contend with as well, and some doubts about whether we're going to have a full dry OR Grand Prix of Thailand. What's going through the mind of Jorge Martin's team boss Gino Borsoi, who joins Simon on the grid?
He does. Nervous as always, I imagine. Gino, you're having an incredible debut year as a MotoGP team manager. Your rider, Jorge Martin, the favourite today. Please give us your thoughts.
Well, favorite, I cannot say he's a favorite for sure. He was one of the fastest rider on track so far, but today is another day. Today is another day where the rider have to manage the rear tire, not in terms of consumption, but they have to be really smooth on the exit of the corner, because then the temperature are coming high and start to move the bike. So they have to be really smart to keep the tire safe for the last part of the race.
Thank you, best of luck.
Yeah, you do feel it's not going to be all about the speed. It's going to be who can manage the speed and be smart at the same time, because we do expect quite a significant tyre drop-off, particularly with the rear tyre. A couple of riders, including Martin, reporting yesterday that the drop around lap 7 or 8 with the medium rear was a little bit more aggressive than what they were anticipating. So you're not going to be able to go full pelt off the line here this afternoon. And that's a situation that Jorge Martin knows only too well after the Australian Grand Prix 8 days ago, when he was just 8 corners away from the Phillip Island success. Now then, the factory Aprilia team, Aleix Espargaro finds himself on the front row for just the 4th time in 2023, and a strong ride to 5th in the sprint yesterday. Maverick Vinales, unfortunately, not competing for the top 3 yesterday after a difficult sprint. How does Massimo Rivola see his boys coming up in this Thai Grand Prix? The Aprilia Ross joins Simon.
He does. Massimo, Aleix looked so strong yesterday, and it looked to me that if he can stay clear of trouble on the early corners, early laps, that he really has a chance. I want to know what you think of both riders going into the long race today.
yeah, it looks like we are not too bad. In fact, better than expected, as we all said. A bit disappointed for Maverick because he showed the best pace almost all over the grid. So let's see if Maverick can get a clean first lap. That will be the key. Yesterday we saw him going long at the corner 3 because of the front device. But yeah, Aleix fight for all the race, and I think he will do the same today. Let's see with the hard tires. I think everybody will fit the hard tires, and let's see if someone will manage or start, let's say, pushing hard from the beginning to try to get an advantage.
Thank you, Massimo.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Massimo Rivolo from the factory Aprilia team. They expect Viñales also to be in the hunt then today for the podium. A problem with the ride height device costing him in that 13-lap sprint yesterday. We'll go back down onto the grid, of course. Every race hugely important now at this late phase of the 2023 title chase. He's on screens now, the reigning world champion, Pecco Bagnaia. How's the nerves for his team boss, Paolo Ciabatti, who's with Simon?
He is, Paolo. Everybody's saying how important it is to manage the rear tyre in this race. And we know how good Pecco is at that, especially at this stage of the weekend when he's got the bike, you know, with his engineers all set up. Please give us your thoughts.
No, it's true. It's going to be crucial. Obviously, yesterday I think his race was just damaged by a very bad start, and then it took him some time to pass Zarco, Alex Marquez, and then but his pace was good after that. Now today's race, I think we've been working quite well during warm-up, and you could see he was very fast and very consistent. So I think it's going to be a much better race for Pecco. For sure, Jorge is going to be strong also here, but I think there is going to be a nice battle, and Pecco is good in managing the tires, as you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Paolo Ciabatti. We've never had a Ducati winner of a Thai Grand Prix. Marc Marquez did it, of course, for HRC in 2018 and 2019, and last year in the torrential rain conditions it was Miguel Oliveira that prevailed on the factory KTM. Short odds, fair to say, on Ducati winning it here today. They look so strong. Jorge Martin trying to keep himself focused, keep himself in the zone. He's got the ice-cold damp towel wrapped around his neck, just so the same Pecco Bagnaia. What's going through the minds of our title contenders? The pressure and tension is enough as it is, without having major doubts about whether this Grand Prix will start dry, whether it will finish in dry conditions. They're used to dealing with anything that gets thrown at them, but it's a whole different ball game when the title chase is on such a knife edge as Luca Marini. He keeps himself as cool as he possibly can be. He's been lacking strength in that recovering left collarbone. This will feel like a very long 26-lap Thai Grand Prix. As Bagnaia, look at that, another look towards the skies. As we just mentioned there, this is the only circuit on the current Grand Prix calendar where Ducati have never won. Pecco Bagnaia, he would dearly love to end that winless streak, wouldn't he? Because it would mean him increasing that 18-point lead in the World Championship. Look at the anxious faces there on Bezzecchi's crew chief, Matteo Flamini. He looked really nervous, didn't he? Really nervous. So Jorge Martin, look at the ice and the temperature that he's got dripping off that ice cool towel. Pecco Bagnaia, he's had a couple of big glares, hasn't he, towards the sky to see whether we are going to get a dry 26-lap OR Grand Prix of Thailand. It's dry as it stands right now.
Yeah, the big question, of course, is not just if it does rain, but how heavily it rains, because, of course, we have seen in the past here races delayed due to heavy rain. If it rains heavy enough for them to be able to still stay out there, of course, we are in flag-to-flag territory. Of course, we had a flag-to-flag race in Motegi where they all came in at the end of the first lap of the race, so we could be in very familiar and similar territory to that in this upcoming Thai Grand Prix. So the riders will be watching the skies as much as they're watching the road ahead of them. And you feel this is one rider in the form of Marc Marquez who wouldn't be too disappointed if it did dump it down in the next hour or so, because he is the famed flag-to-flag master.
Yeah, and he always says you have to take those opportunities when they come your way, just as he did in that tricky race in India, just as he did in the wet conditions in Motegi, which was part of this long and intense overseas tour. 8 Grand Prix in 10 weeks to bring us to what we hope will be a thrilling final round finale in Valencia at the end of next month, as we get set very, very shortly for what is always a very special pre-race grid ceremony here at the Chang International Circuit in Thailand. Anxiety etched all over the face of world champion Pecco Bagnaia, as we are going to pause for a few moments to listen to the Thai national anthem.
ประเทศไทยรวมเลือดเนื้อชาติเชื้อไทยเป็นประชารัฐผัดไทยของไทยทุกส่วนอยู่ดำรงคงไว้ได้ทั้งมวลด้วยไทยล้วนหมายรักสามัคคีไทยนี่รักสงบแต่ถึงรบไม่คลาดเอกราชจักไม่ให้ใครคมขีสละเลือดทุกหยาดเป็นชาติพลีพะเลิงประเทศชาติไทยทวีมีชัยชัยโย
The atmosphere is building. 8 minutes to go before this Thai Grand Prix gets underway. High hopes, I'm sure, for KTM, with Brad Binder going from the second row as looks to go one better than he did in the sprint yesterday. Let's get some pre-race thoughts from his KTM team manager, Francesco Guidotti, with Simon.
Yes, Jack's qualifying didn't go to plan, but Brad is on the second row. We saw what he could do yesterday. If he can get through Kalina, what do you think he can do today, Francesco?
We're ready to race. We're ready to enjoy another good race, another good result. Will be a long race for everyone. Will be tough because of the condition and good start. The plan is have a good start, take a good pace, and try to finish the race in front of everyone.
Okay, best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Brad Binder is seen by many as a serious threat for victory here this afternoon. Luca Marini was one of those who felt that he was going to be a serious victory contender. Of course, so often aggressive on the early lap, so often a fast starter. He starts in between 2 of our 3 remaining title contenders, although Marco Betteki's hopes are beginning to look rather remote. It is the 150th Grand Prix start of Jorge Martin's career. He's 51st in the MotoGP class, but all he's interested in is a 4th victory of 2023 to go with his 7 sprint wins, and that man, Pecco Bagnaia, is out to stop him.
Yeah, Martin then coming to the grid. There are the Martinator fans. Is there going to be another huge plot twist here on this overseas tour, which started in Indonesia in Mandalika? Jorge Martin blew a 3-second lead, having just seized the initiative in the MotoGP World Championship with that sprint win in Lombok, immediately surrendering the championship lead back to Pecco Bagnaia, who came from 13th on the grid to win in Mandalika. And then last time out, Martin was once again 3 seconds clear of the pursuing pack when that soft Michelin rear tyre gamble was so close to paying off, wasn't it? So close to the ultimate big reward. 8 corners away from winning that Australian Grand Prix. And benefiting from his late slump was his teammate Johan Zarco, who took his career first MotoGP victory, and Pecco Bagnaia, who took 20 points, which at that stage moved him 27 clear of Martin. But The goalpost changed again at the end of yesterday's 13-lap sprint, but it's double the distance, double the points, and usually, more often than not, double the drama in the full Grand Prix on Sundays in MotoGP.
And certainly double the jeopardy if it starts to rain at any stage over the next hour or so. It's a race that we're expecting to be dictated by tyre consumption and perhaps a little bit of a tactical first phase of this race while they ensure that they've got some rubber at the end of the race. That could all change. Jorge Martin pointing up at the skies. He's well aware of what potentially could be heading our way. Winner of our last flag-to-flag Grand Prix, although that one, of course, did not run its full distance. What must be going through the mind of our two leading world title contenders when you're in the kind of position that they're in? What you want is predictability, and that's not what they're likely to face over the next 45 minutes or so.
Ducati winless here in Buriram. They took their 13th successive pole of 2023 in that Q2 session yesterday. Martin versus Bagnaia, factory Ducati versus Pramac Ducati. We await with bated breath here in Buriram for the start of this 26-lap Grand Prix of Thailand. Getting himself now fully in the zone, blocking out the noise, blocking out the pressure, goes Jorge Martin as he fires away from that 13th MotoGP pole position, 34th of his Grand Prix career yesterday, as he was once again completely untouchable in that 15-minute Q2 session. Another all-time lap record going the way of the 25-year-old Spaniard, who